And an NFL draft expert says the Lions are looking at tackles, but not necessarily in the draft.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. It is a Friday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network, of Friday, February 20th into a freaking weekend, and Saturday, February 21st. Matt Dery with you. Thanks for making us your first listen and being here each and every day. Shout out to our everyday listeners that are out there. We appreciate our everydayers. That includes the birthday boy. Yes, Chris Druin, Sandler legend, Clarkston legend, lacrosse legend, turning 50 today. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. A lot to get into today. Let's talk about, yes, the Chicago Bears. At the end of the show, I'm going to bring this up. I'm so excited. The Chicago Bears may be moving to Hammond, Indiana. The Hammond Bears. I'll save it for the end. A Jared Goff discussion. Justin Rogers was on the show yesterday. Go back and listen to it or watch it if you missed yesterday. Detroit Football Network's Justin Rogers. We will play a clip when I asked him about Taylor Decker and Graham Glasgow's future with the Lions. We'll play that coming up momentarily. But first, Daniel Jeremiah speaks. We went over his mock draft from the other day when he had the Lions taking the edge rusher from Clemson. Now, the bigger news is that yesterday, Jeremiah was made available via conference call by the NFL, because it's at the NFL Network, to discuss the upcoming draft, the NFL Combine, which is next week. And Daniel is a guy that many people really, really respect and like in terms of his opinion on the draft. When asked about the Detroit Lions and the Combine, Daniel Jeremiah brought up, quote, the Lions are doing a lot of homework on free agent offensive tackles, end quote, he said yesterday. So we have discussed on this show about Taylor Decker's future. Will that be one more year and done? Will that be retirement now? Could that be that the Lions save themselves a lot of money, around $11.6 million, if they release him before March 11th? All right. There's a lot of options with Taylor Decker at left tackle. He's of course 33 years of age. He did say at the end of last season that he's contemplating retirement. He has had an excellent career with the Lions. He's a captain. If he wants to play one more year and do what Lane Johnson is doing with the Eagles, I think the Lions would take him back. I don't think there's going to be a scenario where the Lions release him. I think this is going to be, they're going to have a discussion, and who knows? The Lions may say to Taylor, we're done with you. We're moving on. We're going to find somebody else. Unfortunately, this is a business, and we're going to free up $12 million. So why don't you retire so it doesn't look like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. But Jeremiah saying publicly that he's hearing that the Lions are doing a lot of homework on free agent offensive tackles is obviously interesting. Number one, this is the first we've really heard of it. We have seen tackles being in mock drafts at number 17 for Detroit. We know the Lions don't have a ton of depth at tackle. One guy that played a lot last year when they needed him to fill in, whether when it was Penei Sewell was hurt or whether when it was Decker being hurt, if I could talk, that'd be good, was Dan Skipper. Well, Dan Skipper's now on the coaching staff. A big Skip is no longer on the team. Giovanni Manu is on the roster, but for the last 2 years, we haven't seen much of him at all. He did get an opportunity to play and start in one game this year and then got injured. So the Lions need depth at tackle. Interesting to hear Daniel Jeremiah say that he's heard that this is something the Lions are looking at in free agency. The question is it a depth piece on day 3 or 4 of free agency, or is it a day 1 signee that could be the Taylor Decker replacement? either at right or left tackle. You can move Penei Sewell from the right side to the left side. He is that good. Here's another thing that's intriguing about this situation. Let's just use any example here. I'll use Pete Prisco's top 100 available free agents. Do you realize that it doesn't get until number 29 on the entire list before an offensive tackle is mentioned? 28 other players are on this list of top free agents until you even get to an offensive tackle. And the player that Prisco mentions at 29, and again, this is just his opinion. Pete from CBS Sports covered the NFL for a long time. The guy that he mentions as the top tackle available is Braxton Jones from the Bears. Touchdown Bears, touchdown Hammond Bears. But he only played in 4 games last year, had a knee injury, and then got benched at the end of the year. Remember that. He's only 26. Maybe his run with the Bears is done, and the last year you put behind him. But if that's if the Lions are looking at free agency and the best tackle available is Braxton Jones, they might be able to get somebody on the cheap. The kid from the Giants, Jermaine Eluemunor. I never pronounce his name right. Eluemunor. Jermaine Eluemunor was a guy that played right tackle this past season and actually did a good job on Aiden Hutchinson in that game at Ford Field when Eluemunor went up against Hutch and only really lost a battle to him the one time at the end of that game. But these are the types of players on this list that are available at tackle. It is not a big crop. All right. So it could be that the Lions, I'm not going to say they're dumpster diving, but the Lions could be looking at depth pieces. And that's kind of what Jeremiah is talking about. And again, they're giving Taylor Decker time and space to make that decision, I'm sure. And they're also trying to figure out, hey, look, if there's certain guys we're not bringing back, we save some money. If there's certain guys we want to cut, we save some money. Graham Glasgow, to me, saving between $5 and $6 million. Decker, between 11 and 12 million, if you make that move. But you're also a team that's going for it again. You want to win this season. Taylor Decker gives you a very good chance to win if he comes back for another year at left tackle. He does. Follow TJ Lang on social media. The Lions radio analyst and former offensive lineman, of course, with the Lions and the Packers. TJ loves Taylor Decker. TJ thought Taylor Decker had a really good year this past year, despite all the injuries. Decker barely practiced this whole season because of a lingering shoulder problem. Sometimes we need to be careful with what we wish for. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. How many times this season do we sit there and go, oh man, Jared Goff got smashed from his blind side? Not that many. Decker, you put out there, is very solid. But the Lions may view it like, we need to save some money. And while we like Taylor, we don't know if we want to go through another year of a guy that is always hurt, is getting up there in age, and maybe they want to upgrade that spot. We've talked a lot about, and I've talked a lot about on this show, offensive line has to get better. Well, if you're penciling in Christian Mahogany at left guard, you're penciling in Tate Ratledge at right guard, you know you need a center. And Penei Sewell will play either the right tackle or left tackle spot. Now, as far as Tyler Linderbaum is concerned, there are so many teams after him. And it sounds like the Ravens are going to let him enter free agency. They're probably going to lose him. But because there's such a drop-off between Linderbaum and the next best center available in McGovern with the Bills, and you've got a bevy of teams in need of a center, including in our own division with the Packers. And I don't think Green Bay is going to break the bank. You got the Giants with John Harbaugh, would love to have him. The Ravens are going to be in the mix for him. They're not rebuilding. They would love to bring him back. A lot of teams are trying to rebuild their offensive lines. This was a bad year, this past year, for offensive line play. So Linderbaum, And, Justin mentioned it yesterday. Justin Rogers, you're paying between 20 and 23 million. What if someone breaks the bank and says, we're going to give Tyler Linderbaum $25, $27 million a year for a center? Not so sure the Lions are going to be swimming in that pond. We'll see. All right, coming up next, let's indeed dive in to the Decker and Glasgow situation. I want to play a clip from yesterday's show with Justin Rogers when I asked him about it. We'll do that next, right here on a Friday edition of Locked On Lions. And as I mentioned before, Locked On Lions today are brought to you by our friends at the old FanDuel. That is right. Everybody loves what's going on in the NBA right now, especially here with the Pistons, right? If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team, Pistons, can make a deep run, Pistons, this is the perfect time to lock it in. All right. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship, Detroit, or grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, I've been telling you about it for weeks. Please, if you haven't already and you are an everydayer of this show, please join our Everydayer Club. You get more information at LockedOnLions.supercast.com. What do you get? Simple. We do a chat. We got a Discord server. All right, you can be in our Discord. Be in the chat room. Talk to us about anything you want with Lions. Ask questions. I'm in there. We go back and forth on a lot of different topics, and it's a lot of fun. Also, an ad-free delivery of this show for you as a part of being an Everydayer Club, so you don't have to listen to me talking about our sponsors. And we love our sponsors, but you want to go ad-free? You can on Apple, Spotify, wherever, by joining the Everydayer Club. Go to LockedOnLions.supercast.com. We appreciate you making Locked On the number one podcast network, sports podcast network. It is. We have done a great job with this network. It's a lot of fun. Don't forget Locked On Lions Squad Show with Jake Reitman, Natalie Kerwin, and the man, the myth, the legend, Bradford Banta. All right. Yesterday on the show, Justin Rogers from Detroit Football Network, DetroitFootball.net, was on with me. And we discussed, I asked about Graham Glasgow and Taylor Decker and their futures. Here's what Justin Rogers had to say on both guys.
I struggle seeing Glasgow playing another down for the Lions. Whether he decides to retire, which I think is a possibility. It's not that he said that directly to me, but enough conversations with him where you kind of read between the lines of, maybe just tired and beat up. And, some of that you have to read through the scope, the lens of, that's kind of how all the guys feel at the end of the season. And you probably feel it a little bit more when you've been in the league for 10 years. Like, will my body ever feel right again? But, he's had a pretty brutal stretch of just injuries, I guess, dating back to breaking his leg in Denver. That's never quite felt right after that. And so be really, really surprised if Glasgow's on this roster next.
All right, there was Justin Rogers yesterday talking about Graham Glasgow. We also said about Taylor Decker that he really thinks it's a coin flip right now. He's had enough conversations with Decker where he wouldn't be surprised if Taylor decided to retire because he's so beat up. But he also feels like Taylor wants to be on a winning team and knows that this team is not that far away. So kind of a coin flip on Decker. But interesting on Glasgow, where Justin did not hesitate in saying that he thinks he's going to be gone. Lions can save some money in cap space. He's also been very banged up the last couple of years, has Graham Glasgow, and the performance just has not been there. It just hasn't. Now he's under contract for next year. Again, he could be released and they could save some money. But then you need a center. And the Lions would need to, what if Glasgow and Decker decided to go out and retire together? They are very close. You're talking about 3/5 of your offensive line from 2 years ago that had a 15-win season, all gone in Ragnow, Glasgow, and Decker. But interesting comments certainly from Justin. Justin, the offensive line guys really like Justin and confide in him. So it wouldn't surprise me if when that news breaks that Justin is all over it. But yeah, he doesn't see it. He doesn't really see Glasgow coming back. And the Lions don't really have any internal replacements for him at center unless they decided to utilize Tate Ratledge, who they tried out at center last year during OTAs, and move him from guard to center. But the Lions want to know sooner rather than later on something like that. 100% on that. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned the other day when we did the 222 Rodwood Drive show and we talked about Rod's retirement. I talked to a source today that told me that Mike Disner, of course, the Lions CEO and Rodwood's right-hand man, while they are going to do a national search and a global search for a president of the Lions, that Mike Disner is somebody to keep an eye on. And the source also said that it's not confirmed or anything else, but that don't be surprised if, because Disner had an interview with the Falcons and other places, that the Lions move quickly on this to keep Disner around by telling him, don't go anywhere. Rod's retiring, and they'll elevate him. I also mentioned the name Allison Mackey the other day, who's the Lions CFO. She's been with the team 22 years. So the Lions have a couple of good internal candidates. Keep an eye on Mike Disner. The Lions want to keep him, and there might be a way of keeping him by elevating him like this. Real fast, too, on Jared Goff, and then I want to talk about the Bears for a second and just the absolute clown show that is their team president in Chicago. But I was listening to a conversation the other day about Malik Willis, free agent quarterback, was the backup in Green Bay the last couple of years and really played well when Jordan Love was out. And I'm looking at the Pete Prisco free agent list. He's got Malik Willis at number 31. 2 seasons with the Packers. He's grown as a quarterback at 27 years old. There should be a starter's market for him out there. His mobility is a big plus. Oh, should be a starter's market. There is a massive starter's market out there for Malik Willis. All right. You hear the Cleveland Browns linked to Malik Willis. Could Willis come in and compete with Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson? And by the way, just be thankful we have Jared Goff. And that's where I'm going to get to on this topic. But be so thankful we have Jared Goff. Could you imagine doing sports talk radio in Cleveland and talking about Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders? And I thought Shedeur wasn't horrible last year. But Malik Willis is an option. And he's an option for a lot of teams. New York Jets need a quarterback. Indianapolis Colts need a quarterback. Cleveland Browns need a quarterback. All right. Arizona Cardinals, you need a quarterback. Minnesota Vikings in our own division need a quarterback. I know J.J. McCarthy's their guy right now, but key phrase is right now. There are plenty of teams thirsty for a quarterback, and Malik Willis is by far the best option, and he's not proven as a starter in this league. So when you've got people that tell you all of the time, Jared Goff this, Jared Goff that. He's not. Guys, he's ours, and he's damn good. He is damn good. When Malik Willis, who the Lions years ago didn't draft, when people were like, the Lions, you take Malik Willis because we're not sure Jared Goff's the guy. How did that work out? Willis had a good stretch as a backup in Green Bay, but he is not a lock starter. And he'll get starter money, and he will be a starter somewhere. We don't know if he could do it, though, consistently, week in and week out. But Jared Goff is that guy. Pittsburgh needs a quarterback, folks. That's another one. You go on and on. So Goff is ours, and that's a good thing. Imagine being one of these teams talking about Malik Willis every day. And I'm not downgrading the guy. He had good moments as a backup in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur and a very good offense. Can he go to Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Minnesota and be the guy? I don't know. But what we do know is the guy we have here is pretty darn good. With that, we know. Coming up next, the saga of Kevin Warren and the Hammond Bears. This takes the cake. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. That's right, 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like Confetti Craze, Fruity Rainbow, or Cotton Candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. I got my number one pick for the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. I like a bunch of them, but today I'm going with my friends at Sour Apple. Yes, it just tastes really good. It tastes like the old suckers that you used to have, the sour apple ones that turned into gum at the end. I forgot what those are called. Somebody will tell me on YouTube, but those are really good. All right. Sour apple is solid. I mentioned before, some of these new ones, Cotton Candy, not bad. Fruity Rainbow, good. Cherry, always solid. Grape, come on. Sometimes you want it and it's there. 5 Hour Energy shots give you a boost with 0 sugar. All right. 5 Hour Energy is the best. Find your new flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Again, berry, strawberry banana, Hawaiian breeze. They're all good. 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. All right, what a year for the Chicago Bears. They won the division. Touchdown Bears. They won the division. Ben Johnson, they're erecting a statue for that guy. The Bears had a great year this year, despite the fact they were swept by the Detroit Lions this past season. A lot of momentum in Chicago. A lot of people talking about the Bears, talking about building off of what they did this year and winning a playoff game and all that stuff. But if you recall, a couple of years ago, the Bears brought in Kevin Warren, or as he was known down at 222, K-Dub, former Lions executive Kevin Warren, former Big Ten commissioner Kevin Warren, was brought into Chicago to be the president of the team. But really, his main goal and focus was finding a new stadium, building a new stadium for the Bears. All right, the Bears cannot forever play at Soldier Field. They are moving out of Soldier Field. They need more suites. They need more seats. They need more money. And so originally, Kevin Warren came in and said, we're staying right here in Chicago. Yay. Can't leave Chicago. Those are the words of Kevin Warren years ago. Then Arlington Heights, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, northern suburb, they came forward and said, we got all this land. Look at all this land we've got for you, the Bears, to build. That land has been sitting there for years. Years. And yet Warren and the Bears couldn't come to an agreement with Arlington Heights. Yesterday, it went public that the Bears just might be and are negotiating with Hammond, Indiana, to move the Bears to the state of Indiana. Hammond is like 30 minutes outside of Chicago. And they're in the running. Like it sounds like they're ready to go. Hammond, Indiana? Like the tradition. Have you ever heard the song Bear Down Chicago Bears? In the song, there are words. There are lyrics that go, we are the pride and joy of Illinois. You're going to have to take the Bear Down Chicago Bears song and change it? Song's been going 100 years. What is Kevin Warren? You're going to move the Bears to Indiana? What, because it's 30 minutes away and they've got money and they've got the sweetest deal? Can't even believe you imagine being a Bears fan? You are loving what's happening on the field. They're doing it right. Chef Poles is actually cooking. Ben Johnson's doing great. Caleb Williams had a monster year. You win the division, all this stuff. And the pride and joy of Illinois could be the pride and joy of Indiana. Hammond, anybody been to Hammond, Indiana? I've been there. Not going to tell you why, but I will tell you it was my buddy Jeremy's bachelor party 30 years ago. You could put 2 and 2 together on where we ended up in Hammond, Indiana. I was a youngster back then. Hammond Bears. Now, again, they'll still be the Chicago Bears. It's 30 minutes away from the South Loop. But what an embarrassment that if the Bears moved, and again, they're going to get a state-of-the-art stadium. They're going to build it somewhere. But what is great about the Lions and where the Lions are is Ford Field is right there in the center of downtown. Not in the center, but close enough. All right. The location's pretty darn good. They're the Detroit Lions. And no, I'm not going to start arguing with you about the Pistons playing in Auburn Hills, Michigan. No one says, oh, where do you live? I live in Detroit. We all say we live in Detroit. When people ask me from out of town or I talk to family, they don't say, how's the East Side? Right? They don't ask my friends how West Bloomfield is or Shelby or Fraser or Clinton Township. They say, how's Detroit? This moving to another state? Like first it was Gary, Indiana. Now it's Hammond, Indiana. First, and then it was Arlington Heights. Then it was the city. How's Kevin Warren still employed as president of the Bears? That this is happening. But Detroit's got the Lions. The Lions are in the city, which I love. I'm not going to get into a Pistons debate because I loved the Palace and I never once had an argument about, well, they should be the Auburn Hills Pistons. No, we called them Detroit. And that was a great building and there were no complaints when they were winning there. But Hammond, Indiana, give me a break. Chicago Bear, that would be crazy. So you'd have 2 teams in the state of Indiana and none in Illinois. All right, that'll wrap it up for us. Next week, Combine, baby. Oh, yeah. We'll hopefully catch up with Nick Shook from NFL.com and the NFL Network maybe on Tuesday. We're back again Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.